2D sprites have been a part of computer graphics for about as long as graphics have existed, with a process pretty much called billboarding, which makes the sprite always face the camera. It is used to create the impression of 3D using only 2D images. To enhance the illusion, many would use a set of 2D images to create a sense of the object having different sides. Sprites could even be animated, bringing extra life to the effect. Using sprites this way can be seen all over the place in FPS games of the early 90s. Brings you back, doesn't it? But what if you wanted to recreate this retro effect in Blender? Sprite 2D gives you the tools you need to recreate this dynamic 3D billboarding. Isn't that exciting? You've been given an opportunity! First, you need some sprites to work on. A sprite is expected to be a series of 8 images, each taken from different sides of the model at 45-degree offsets from one another. They can also be image sequences, made with sets of 8 images of each frame of animation. To help with the process of making your own, take a look at Sprite Makey Make. Hey, another add-on we have made, available at a reduced price when purchased alongside Sprite 2D. It's the best deal you're gonna get, and you better get it while it's hot. Steamy hot is tastiest at the bakery. With your sprite ready and the add-on installed, open the Sprite 2D Blender file that came with it, and copy this colored 2D plane to the Blender project you want to use it in. Inside the material, you'll find this node group. Each color input relates to what color will be rendered when viewed at any given angle. In this case, the front of the sprite will be rendered in the color red. To test if things are working, create a camera. Go to the camera's view, start playing the animation, and move the camera around the scene. As you move, you should see the colors changing. The add-on updates every time the frame changes and automatically detects the active camera. If all works, pause and drag in your 8 sprite textures from before. Make sure they all line up correctly, front to front, right to right, and that you plug in both the color and alpha layers, if you want transparency, that is. If you're animating the sprite with an image sequence, just do the same process, but import the image sequence in the typical way. Turn on cyclic and auto-refresh and plug it into its relevant input. Now just run the scene again, move your camera around, and you should see the sprite update itself as you go, changing its appearance depending on which angle the camera is viewing the object from. Hey, look, it is dynamic camera. Dynamic means the sprite follows you around. It is like a creep. It wants to kill you. Will you let it? Dynamic. You can also rotate or animate the rotation of the object to change its rotation. If you want to have duplicates of a sprite in your scene, be aware that the script will always force these materials to be unique. That means that changing one won't change all of them. So you want to group your input nodes together. That way, after you duplicate your sprite, you still have the ability to control all of them at once. Group 1 equals fun. Haha! But be aware that these 3 read-only values must always be accessible on the top level of the material. It won't work inside a group. No! The more sprites you have, the more intensive processing then becomes. You can temporarily disable Sprite 2D by going to the Scene tab and just disabling it. Click, schlick, gone, end. When you're ready to render, you have to click the Bake button. Otherwise the sprites won't rotate. To return to a dynamic preview, just clear Bake. This is a bit more advanced, but in some cases you might want the sprite to have different states. To go back to the example of 90s shooters, a sprite-based monster would have a state for idle, for walking, attacking, and so on. Let's have a quickfire look at how you might handle that. Start off by setting up all the states you need by making duplicates of the Sprite 3D node group and putting whatever textures or image sequences you put on them. Use a mix shader or a sequence of them to switch between states. Add all of these to a group so duplicate sprites will still reference the same nodes. Last, plug all your read-only values into the same 3 inputs of your group, as well as the inputs of the mix shaders. Now you should see your desired state, static or animated. It dynamically rotates based on the camera location and can have its state change at the twitch of a slider. You twitch the slider and it changes. Changes like a magician. Magician changes, yes. So there you have it. Everything from basic static sprites to animated creatures with multiple states. Generate hordes of 2D delights, all handled with this simple script. It is pretty simple, right? Sprite 2D is all you need. Marketer Viela, creation freed.